Success statistics are lying to you. The uncomfortable truth behind progress. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I recently had the privilege of sitting down with Crystal Dudley, a force of nature whose work is quietly revolutionizing how we understand success in America. Crystal isn't just a researcher, she's a truth teller, a system shifter, a woman who walks into rooms where decisions are made and refuses to let comfortable narratives replace uncomfortable truths. Her groundbreaking research at the intersection of race, gender, and economic opportunity has given voice to stories that statistics alone could never tell. And today, the insights she shared with me will challenge everything you think you know about progress in our economy. We love celebrating success stories, don't we? We're drawn to headlines about record breaking achievements and unprecedented growth. These narratives comfort us. They reassure us that progress is happening, that barriers are falling, that the arc of opportunity is bending toward justice. But what if these very success stories are hiding something crucial from our view? This is the question Crystal Dudley's research forces us to confront, and it's one that should make us all deeply uncomfortable. Here's a statistic you probably heard: Black women are the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs in the United States. This fact gets repeated in business magazines, cited in economic reports, celebrated in diversity initiatives. And it should be celebrated. It represents incredible determination, creativity, and resilience. But beneath this inspiring headline lies a much more complex reality. While Black women are indeed launching businesses at unprecedented rates, they simultaneously face some of the most persistent and systemic barriers to sustaining those businesses and their careers. The same demographic celebrated for entrepreneurial growth is experiencing disproportionate job loss, funding discrimination, and systemic exclusion. This is what Crystal calls the visibility trap. When highlighting success stories inadvertently obscures the very real obstacles that remain. When we focus exclusively on growth statistics, we miss the underlying inequities, the disproportionate unemployment rates, the funding disparities, the systemic biases that persist despite and sometimes alongside remarkable achievement. Let me share three key insights from my conversation with Crystal that illuminate this contradiction. First, the entrepreneurial boom among Black women is absolutely real, but so are the unique challenges they face. Despite leading new business creation, Black women consistently encounter higher unemployment rates and more difficulty securing funding compared to their peers. Second, access to networks, mentorship, and capital remains a critical barrier. Systemic biases mean that even when Black women led businesses succeed in raising investment, they often receive smaller amounts at higher costs than others. And third, community support systems make a measurable difference. Organizations specifically dedicated to empowering women of color provide vital resources that help level the playing field for aspiring leaders. Let's look deeper at what these insights mean in practice. In April 2025 alone, over 106,000 Black women lost employment, a surge not mirrored by other demographic groups or reflected in general job reports. Think about that number for a moment: 106,000 women in a single month. This wasn't a random fluctuation. This wasn't just market forces at work. This was the result of systemic bias leading to disproportionate layoffs. Economic downturns hitting minority owned businesses hardest, and perhaps most troublingly, media coverage often failed to accurately represent these losses. Why? because it disrupts the narrative of progress we've become so attached to. The response to this crisis reveals both the challenge and the possibility. Advocacy organizations raised awareness about data manipulation that was masking the true impact. Community groups mobilized resources for affected professionals. Targeted upskilling programs were introduced to create new pathways. These efforts yielded results, increased visibility, led policymakers to address disparities more directly. Some local governments launched grant initiatives specifically for displaced workers. National awareness about labor market inequities facing Black professional women grew substantially. But this pattern isn't new. Historically underrepresented in leadership roles, despite high participation rates, many Black professional women have faced recurring cycles of instability during economic shifts. The difference now is that we're beginning to recognize these patterns for what they are, not individual failures, but systemic shortcomings. As Crystal told me during our interview, when we only celebrate the wins without acknowledging the hurdles, we're telling an incomplete story that ultimately serves no one. Let's turn to another revealing example from Crystal's research. Despite being the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs nationally, many Black women founders struggle with access to fair financing terms. Traditional lenders often deny loans due to implicit bias or lack of collateral. Venture capital flows overwhelmingly favor non minority founders. Only 7% globally goes toward female led firms, with an even smaller fraction directed to women of color. Think about what this means in practical terms. It means a Black woman with the same business idea, the same education, the same determination as her white male counterpart must work exponentially harder just to secure the capital to get started. It means she's more likely to fund her business with personal credit cards, with higher interest rates, with greater personal risk. In response to these barriers, alternative solutions have emerged. Community development financial institutions stepped up lending, specifically targeting minority owned startups. Peer to peer lending circles gained traction within communities. These approaches aren't just stopgap measures, they're producing results. CDFI backed ventures saw improved survival rates over 5 years versus those without such backing. The backstory here matters deeply. Many successful founders recount having been rejected multiple times by mainstream banks before finding alternative sources willing to invest based on character and vision rather than credit score alone. This isn't just about persistence, it's about a system that requires certain entrepreneurs to be exponentially more persistent than others. Yet, even amid these challenges, there has been measurable progress, notable increases in average revenues for African American woman owned businesses, up nearly 33% between 2019 and 2023, outpaced gains among other demographics. This demonstrates how tailored financial solutions can catalyze sustained entrepreneurial growth within marginalized communities. The third powerful example Crystal shared focuses on building networks and confidence through women focused business support organizations. Organizations like Be Peace provide mentorships and networks designed explicitly for underrepresented business women, including those from low income backgrounds or minority groups. These programs address a crucial reality. Deep rooted gender biases restrict access not just financially, but also socially. Many women report feeling less confident or excluded from decision making circles. The solutions these organizations offer are comprehensive: structured programs offering leadership training, networking events tailored by industry sector, plus ongoing peer support. The outcomes speak for themselves. Participants report increased confidence levels by 20% and greater success securing contracts and funding after program completion. Many participants come from backgrounds where entrepreneurship was viewed as risky due solely to their identity, not their ability. Over half secured investment after program participation, even if median amounts lag behind those given elsewhere. These organizations have become launch pads, driving broader representation and shifting cultural narratives around who gets counted as a business leader. As Crystal eloquently puts it, when we create spaces where women can see themselves reflected in success stories, we're not just supporting individual businesses, we're rewriting what leadership looks like for future generations. What these examples collectively reveal is something profound about how we measure progress. We've been trained to look at top line numbers: more businesses started, more dollars invested, more seats at tables, without examining the quality and sustainability of that progress. Real change isn't just about more opportunities, it's about better opportunities. It's not just about access to capital, it's about equitable terms for that capital. It's not just about getting in the door, it's about having the support to thrive once you're there. This brings me to a quote that Crystal shared during our conversation that has stayed with me. The true measure of progress isn't just how many of us start the race, but how many of us are empowered to finish it. So, where do we go from here? How do we move beyond celebrating surface level progress to creating sustainable change? First, we need better metrics. We need to track not just how many businesses are started, but how many survive and thrive 5 years out. Not just how much funding is allocated, but whether the terms are equitable. Not just representation, but retention and advancement. Second, we need to recognize that community based solutions work. The most effective interventions Crystal documented weren't top down policy changes, but ground up community initiatives that understood the specific challenges faced by the women they served. Third, we need to acknowledge that this isn't just a women's issue or a minority issue, it's an economic imperative. When we systematically underutilize the talents, creativity, and leadership of any group, we all lose. Our economy loses, our society loses. I want to leave you with this: the stories we tell about success matter, the metrics we use to measure progress matter, and most importantly, the questions we're willing to ask, even when they make us uncomfortable, matter most of all. The next time you hear a statistic about record breaking progress, I challenge you to ask: progress for whom? At what cost? Under what conditions? Who is still being left behind? Because true progress isn't measured in comfortable statistics, it's measured in uncomfortable truths that push us toward real change. It's measured in systems transformed, not just individual success stories. It's measured in our willingness to look beyond the headlines to the human experiences that statistics alone can never capture. This is the revolution Crystal Dudley's work invites us to join, not just celebrating how far we've come, but honestly confronting how far we still have to go and then doing something about it. The question isn't whether we can create a more equitable economy. The question is whether we have the courage to see beyond the success stories to build one. Thank you